guys, and at the time, I mean, look, it's a very whitewashed area of the country, and in 1987, it was way more whitewashed than it is today. And there were a couple guys that were out there, and I was intrigued on what they were doing and what was going on, and one's driving a ski boat, and one guy says, "You ready, Ski Cat?" And the other guy says, "Hit it, Commodore." And ever since then, I was like, Ski Cat? This is the coolest motherfucker I've ever heard in my life.
Commodore. I'll give you Ski Cat.
So,
Commodore.
straight up Commodore. So from that day forward, everyone's been a cat, and that's just been a part of my lexicon, and that is how it's going to go down.
Dude,
but is any place off of Federal and Alameda that you can order Bolduglak and Komdak Bier, I'm in. Sign me up.
Dude, I'm so... Okay, so yes, I will go. I will officially be the Commodore from henceforth. I am the Commodore of this podcast. Also, we will be referring to people as hip cats in the very new... I got to get that nomenclature down, Pat, because Gnarly has come back.
You what.
I'm doing this. I mean, we start going full swingers mode, we're going to have this. You're going to be so money you don't even know it, baby, in a month. Yeah. Woo! Tell me something new today, bro.
This is great. I had no idea what was going to happen over here. I was so tired coming home from Costa. And I'm like, oh, my God, I just want to go home and, like, see my kids. It's my first day in 2 weeks without my full family. I came over here, and I saw you guys, and I'm like, all right, this looks like it might be all right. But, you know, I'm having a hell of a good time. I appreciate y'all.
You got a couple loot? Here, hit this. This will get you ready for the next question. You just got to ghost. What's it called? And that does want to bring me into attention. Before we move on, we have some unofficial sponsors of this podcast, and there are friends over at PAX Vapors and all of our friends over that sell those PAX pods, and so it's obviously becoming a revolutionary trend. Have you seen like y'all's cartridges with the 510? Like that's what I used to not mail home to my friends. Have we seen a big dent from these guys coming into the 510 world?
Yes and no. I mean, I have a PAX pen, and we fill some of our own pods.
What's your flavor?
We don't have a contract with them yet, but the first time when we had our refiner, we were working through. I'd love for you to take care of us and introduce us, and we'll definitely start putting some of our oils in those pens. Look, I like any vehicle that can provide a wonderful taste and high. Right? And when we built ours, even though they're on 510, it's just because I didn't want the Apple thing, like, hey, you got to do this. But you also know I'm all Apple. I have the phone, the computer, the app, the iPads all across. Once you get in, it's a wonderful system, right?
I couldn't agree more.
100%. But I also don't want, my friend that got the Samsung or the Google phone that's like all missed out and can't iMessage with me when I'm in Costa because he's fucking on the landline and shit. Losers. Edwin.
God, I hate my friends that don't go to Costa with me and surf and use Samsungs.
And I get a green text message.
Just hang out. Just come on, give me the iMessage, right?
Are you poor?
If it's not blue, I don't want anything to do.
Yeah. Wrong number.
No, we know. There's always a hack for it. It's called WhatsApp, and you can get on that shit anyways. But no, I do like the PAX pens. But look, honestly, I'm a flower guy. All day, every day, I would much prefer. I like the purity of it. I like the ritual of it. I like to feel it. I want to know how much is left on my fingertips when I'm done grinding it or rolling it or packing it. It's a part of. What is this, right? This is like, maybe that's from chasing women when you're little. Like, it just becomes one of those things that you're like, maybe this.
I smell my fingers on Sunday mornings when I come home and tell Chris about it. I'm like, hey,
this is what happens. There's a piece
Every
of that.
tells a story, knuckle deep.
Participation that is just, it's purity. It's heritage. It's something that I really enjoy. And if you're giving me my druthers, fuck all the oils. I mean, I'll take cornflake dabs. I've been there with the rest of them, the whole 1 grammers and slamming the nail and all that shit. Like, I got to work up on my tolerance before I go to and do that. But that's not what I really want. I want to pull out the nug. I want to snap it off the bottom of the stem. I want to see how big that structure is compared to the whole flower. I want to see if I can give it the Colorado crumble, right? I don't want to have to use a grinder out here. In Cali, in Hawaii, in Florida, yeah, grind it up. It's too humid. But in Colorado, if you can I get can I get a Colorado crumble? It might not make the perfect small joint, but it's going to make an amazing bowl and an even better blunt because it sticks as you wrap that shit up.
Yeah.
No runs, no canoeing on those papers. Did you crack the Garcia Vega yourself? Because I did.
No, man, I didn't roll blunts. So not only when I roll joints, they look like a snake swallowed an egg, a big egg. But that's what mine look like. So I stick to glass and stemware that I'm used to. It's the TLC song.
They're called swim lanes. You stick to yours, I'll stick to mine.
Yeah,
we grew up.
I don't drive in the snow, but I can outdrink anyone here. I know the rules and I know what I'm good at. Stay in my lane.
We would always roll with White Owl Peach.
Ooh, okay.
I didn't roll them. I didn't say I didn't smoke them. I just didn't roll them.
Well, we went through a cross. I mean, we had the White Owls, but the Cigarillos Garcia Vega, they were the perfect for cracking on your own, rolling up that little tight one. It was just something that I loved. There's a kid that moved from California out to Casper, Wyoming, and he was like, I hate my parents. But I met him in PE class, and we started talking about the only thing that brings all kids together.
Karate.
What do you do before and after karate? So we were talking about it, and he says, y'all smoke honey blunts. And I was like, what now? Come again? And he's like, roll up a blunt. And I was like, well, yeah, I seen that on kids,
You dip it in cough syrup?
No. Yeah. This was before all that shit.
That's our... I think we might have called that...
Russell.
We just drank the bottle of Robitussin like the purists. We didn't deal with all that shit. Robots with your eyebrows like this. He shows up at our house, and he's like, so to be honest, he's like, my friends always rolled them, but I smoke them. I'll show you how. We're at my boy Tyler's house. Thank God, Penny. Shout out, Penny. You're the best mother on earth. Penny lets us roll these. Oh, my goodness. Penny Holthouse, love you. She lets us roll these blunts. He's got this fat blunt that's like all bent and coned out, looks like the tree limb. Covered in honey, can't stick to his fingers, can't get the weed. He's like, I think my friends put it in the oven. He bakes this thing in the fucking oven. Now we've got swag weed rolled up in some shit swisher with like literal honey dripping all over, baking in the fucking oven.
Fail.
Total epic fail. You know what was awesome? We still smoke that shit, and I was like, I love honey blunts. If you do something really hard and you do it marginally well, isn't that the shit that you tell everybody else first? Because you know how hard it will be for them to do it, and you know you got clout. As a 16, 17-year-old kid, that's what you do.
Yeah, it worked. For sure, y'all definitely got to give this a whirl. Go home, waste your eighth of shitty weed. Oh, that's vicious. I'm not sure where the concept of how actual honey would come. Now, what Chris had said, I'm not really sure why whoever was the first one to put cough syrup on the outside of a blunt is
you
also
let it dry
a revolutionary. It's the same as using formaldehyde.
Here's what happens when weed is illegal, is what we're talking about right now. Because when weed is legal, you don't grind up crank and put it in a fucking joint and say, I think Snoop Dogg called this chronic, which is what kids in Casper were doing because that's what their drug dealer told them to do.
Time out. That's the regional dialect. What is crank to everybody? Let's go around the
Crank
table.
is super stepped down meth with all sorts of other shit in it. As far as I grew up in Casper, which crank was running in the fucking middle 90s.
Chris, what was crank to y'all?
I thought crank was like speed, like
crack?
Yeah.
Like something smuggled? All right, let's go to intern Zane. He's from part West Virginia, part Pennsylvania. This is going to be just Pennsylvania. I'm sorry. All right, intern Zane, what is crank?
No, it's the same thing that what Travis was talking about, at least in
low down, dirty.
Yeah.
I thought it was just crack. So
No, not at all.
It's methier?
Not at all. It's 100% methier.
Okay. And see, I hear that kills small town America.
It was terrible. I saw so many kids. But to my point, okay, and yes, did I try it? Yes, I tried it. Why? Because I went to buy weed from a fucking drug dealer, and he was like, I don't have any, but I have this. Right? Which is why weed needs to be legal. Which is why 21-year-olds, and at some point, I don't know what happens to the rest of it, and should you be doing this shit in high school? No. Should you be shooting heroin? No. Smoke weed first, please. Don't shoot heroin. Should you drink half the keg and drive home? No. Smoke weed first and fall asleep on the couch. All those things I would want my children to do first as opposed to the greater harms. Do I hope that all 3 of my kids aren't doing any of that shit during high school and concentrating on staying away from dudes that are trying to get them pregnant and all the other shit that's going on? Yeah, that's what I hope, but I'm not stupid.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
right.
So, by the way, that's going to be really suck. That's going to suck. I feel for my friends that have daughters now.
Dude, my girls already look 13. I was in Costa Rica and like grown-ass men watching them on the beach. I'm like, motherfucker, she's 11. 11.
Yeah, those beach trips are going to get fun.
Yeah, so you're going to want to be the house dad for those trips. And you're going to want to keep a lot of, like, smocks and turtlenecks.
I went to Mazatlan when I was 18 on that senior high school trip. I mean, there was nothing worse in life that happened in Mazatlan that week with some Casper, Wyoming fucking kids. I assure you.
Some people get
Nobody
karma
died. That's
real
it.
hard. Yeah. I mean, that's about all that my parents can hang the hat on. They're like, he's old now. He's up to himself now. But at the same time, I feel for those that have daughters, so I wish you nothing but the best of luck.
So that the point being is, you get into and ask those drugs and the rest of it. Why are people doing this? Why are people sticking this in and trying that? The Primos. Do you guys remember the Primos? That was what they said. This was probably 1996. Oh, buy an 8-ball. And then put that shit in your joint and run this across the thing. So all of a sudden, kids that I did know that were just drinking a little beer and smoking a little weed meet 3 or 4 of the wrong drug dealers, and now they've got, as your cough syrup dip, they're just straight up drinking the Robo. They got crank in there. They got coke in there. I mean, all because of a black market system. All they really wanted to do was get a fucking eighth of weed, swag, shitty weed, grind it up, roll a joint, and fucking play hacky sack in the park for 2.5 hours. I mean, that's honest to God all they wanted to do, and they just ended up tweaking all fucking.
All right, so we've done best meal. We've done, I think, cheap spots as well. We've knocked out happy hour, which is your backyard. Is it safe to say that as we're enjoying these cocktails here at Avery Brewery, that this is your favorite brewery in town?
It's one of my top ones.
If
it's
not,
one of my top
what
ones.
is?
Look, the guys that started Sanitas, I love Sanitas. I haven't been there for probably a year, God's honest truth. But when that place was getting started, it was across the street from one of our first grows from Green Dream. And they were getting their shit. This is uniquely Boulder right here.
Running.
They probably all just had a pint, too. Boulder, Colorado.
It's not the place to get a cigarette before we leave town.
No, that is probably the one thing you do here that you do get some sideways looks. Anything else is fucking,
like a leper
including being fully naked. You're in.
I gotta go out past.
Did we know? Do you guys in like Flynn? You guys heard this shit? Because I about said it. And
Flynn,
then
I do know.
And you know where that came from? Like Errol Flynn. Apparently, this was the.
Do you know this because you're older than me, or do you know this because you're smarter than me?
Because I heard this shit. Because I've been hearing in like Flynn since I was a kid, and then for some reason I heard someone talking about it. I Google it and I figure out. I'm like, Errol Flynn. I was like, that's a real person. Apparently it is, and he had a better summer than Kevin Costner. Let's put it that way. So if you're in like Flynn, literally that's what it means.
Perfect.
I never knew that.
he had a better summer than Kevin Costner. Also, may be a new term, and then I'm going for. God damn.
So, anyways,
all right. So y'all can keep talking. I'm writing down quotes over here. So, Chris,
I love Sanitas. There's a lot of good breweries in here. For a long time, just right around the corner, I used to go to Asher Brewery all the time.
Asher, I like Asher.
You know, Asher's a good dude. He. You know, we've I don't go in there as many times anymore, but you know, in the Green Dream days, I was over there all the time. I mean, yeah, I have fond memories at Asher, and there's a lot of good local brewers here. I drink Upslope all the time when I'm out, if I'm grabbing a can of something, but I probably spend the most time.
That craft lager's delicious.
Over here because it's just easy. I mean, me and my kids, we ride our bikes, we skateboard, we head over here, we do a lap around Twin Lakes. They throw the washers over here.
Beat you up?
My son cannot beat me up, but soon he will. He's only 5.
Oh yeah,
Are y'all longboarders?
Yeah.
We do not have any longboards. Those are a step above inlines in my world. But honestly, I've done them all and I love them.
Do you still do tricks on the board as you go down the road? Do you like?
My ankles are so trashed. I will ollie. I will power slide. I will, every now and again a nollie. I can manual all across, but I'm not doing flip tricks and all that. No, maybe a big pop shove it.
Dude,
I can't.
We only practice safety here at No Vacancy.
Team
That
condos
you are full of
and
shit.
Plan
You don't
B.
wear a helmet skateboarding if you smoked weed in the 90s, I promise. I'm not saying it's smart. I hit my head numerous times. Kids don't do what I do what I say. But with all fucking due respect, no.
Yeah, so we've kind of knocked out a couple of we did questions from you.